You guys know how much I love geeking out on the science of fitness and nutrition. So when you sent me this video breaking down the top 10 muscle-building foods, I knew we had to do a deep dive. It's not just about what to eat. It's about understanding the WHY behind it all.
Exactly. We're going beyond the surface. And really unpacking how these foods impact muscle growth at a cellular level.
I'm all about that. But before we jump into the specific foods, can you give us a quick rundown on why diet is so crucial for building muscle in the first place? I mean, I hit the gym religiously, but is my nutrition holding me back from those gains?
Absolutely. You know, working out creates these microscopic tears in your muscle fibers, like demolition day, right?
Yeah.
And to rebuild bigger and stronger, you need the right building materials and fuel.
Makes sense.
That's where the right foods come in.
So we're talking protein, carbs, fats, the whole shebang.
Exactly. Protein is the star player, of course, providing those essential amino acids, the building blocks for muscle.
Got it. So the video kicks off with a bold claim. It says eggs are the perfect muscle food. Is that all hype, or is there some serious science backing that up?
Well, eggs are definitely a top contender. They provide a complete protein profile, meaning they contain all 9 essential amino acids, the ones our bodies can't produce on their own.
Okay, impressive.
And they're also a great source of leucine, a key amino acid.
Leucine. Now that rings a bell. Isn't that the one that plays a special role in muscle protein synthesis?
You got it. Leucine is like the trigger. It activates a pathway called mTOR, which basically kickstarts the whole muscle building process.
So it's not just about having protein. It's about having the right kind of protein that can actually signal those muscles to grow. Leucine is like the foreman on a construction site, making sure everything runs smoothly.
I love that analogy.
And what are those claims that eggs boost testosterone? That's got to be good for muscle growth too, right?
Definitely. Testosterone is a key hormone for building muscle and strength. And eggs contain healthy fats and vitamin D, which can support testosterone production.
That explains why I feel like I can conquer the world after a good egg breakfast. Okay, moving on to another protein staple, chicken breast. Bodybuilders swear by it, but does it really live up to the hype?
Chicken breast is a classic for a reason. It's incredibly protein dense.
Meaning
you get a lot of protein per serving without a ton of extra calories or fat.
So it's all about that protein to calorie ratio.
Exactly. Which is ideal for building lean muscle.
Makes sense. What about those B vitamins I always hear about in chicken?
Those are essential for energy production. They help convert the food we eat into usable energy for our workouts.
Interesting. So chicken not only provides the building blocks, but also helps fuel the construction process. Now this next one threw me for a loop. Salmon. I usually think of it as a heart-healthy food, but the video claims it's a muscle-building champ too.
Salmon is definitely a nutritional powerhouse. It's loaded with protein, of course. But what sets it apart are those omega-3 fatty acids.
Omega-3s. That's not what usually comes to mind when I think of building muscle.
I know, right?
Fill me in. What's the connection?
Well, omega-3s are well known for their anti-inflammatory properties, which helps reduce muscle soreness after intense workouts.
Ah, so faster recovery.
Exactly. But they do much more than that.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Omega-3s can improve insulin sensitivity, which basically means your muscles can better absorb glucose from the bloodstream.
Interesting.
So you get more efficient nutrient delivery and muscle glycogen replenishment.
So it's like omega-3s are the traffic controllers, making sure all that protein and those carbs get where they need to go.
Exactly. And there's even some evidence that omega-3s can actually enhance muscle protein synthesis.
Wow, I'm starting to see why salmon made the list. Okay, what about Greek yogurt? The video called it a double protein boost. What's that all about?
So Greek yogurt is unique because it contains both whey and casein protein. And each of those has its own unique benefits.
How so?
Whey protein is absorbed quickly, so it's perfect for a post-workout snack,
Got it.
giving those muscles an immediate influx of amino acids.
Like a quick protein shot for tired muscles.
Exactly. While casein protein, on the other hand, digests slowly, providing a sustained release of amino acids over several hours.
Ah, so it's like a slow drip of protein feeding those muscles throughout the day or even overnight.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
This combination makes Greek yogurt a great choice for both immediate recovery and prolonged muscle protein synthesis.
All right, time for a classic. Lean beef. Is it still a muscle-building champion, or has it been dethroned by newer contenders?
Lean beef is definitely still a top contender. It's a fantastic source of high-quality protein, of course, but it also provides iron and zinc.
Crucial minerals.
Yes, absolutely. Iron is essential for transporting oxygen to working muscles, and zinc plays a role in protein synthesis and hormone production.
So it's not just about the protein, it's about the supporting cast of nutrients that optimize muscle function. That makes sense.
And this might surprise you, but beef also contains naturally occurring creatine.
Wait a minute, isn't creatine that supplement a lot of athletes take for strength and power?
That's right. Creatine helps replenish ATP, the primary energy source for muscle contractions. So it allows you to push harder and train longer, leading to greater muscle growth over time.
Wow, beef really is a powerhouse. Okay, I'm ready for a controversial one. Cottage cheese. I'll be honest, it's not my go-to, but the video raved about its muscle-building benefits. What's the deal with cottage cheese?
I know it's not the most glamorous food out there,
You could say that again.
but cottage cheese is actually a hidden gem for muscle building. It's exceptionally high in casein protein.
Ah, that slow-digesting protein we were talking about with Greek yogurt.
Exactly. So it provides that sustained release of amino acids, making it a great option for nighttime muscle recovery.
Interesting. So you're saying eating cottage cheese before bed can help prevent muscle breakdown and promote growth while you sleep.
Exactly.
Okay, cottage cheese officially has my attention. Now, for something a bit trendier, quinoa. It's touted as a healthy grain, but the video calls it a muscle-building carb. Can a carb really build muscle?
Quinoa is unique. It's one of the few plant-based foods that's considered a complete protein,
Meaning?
meaning it provides all 9 essential amino acids, just like animal-based protein sources.
Oh, wow, that's impressive for a grain.
It is. Plus, it's a great source of complex carbohydrates.
And those are important because...
Because they provide sustained energy for your workouts, unlike simple carbs, which can lead to energy spikes and crashes.
So it's like the difference between a quick sugar rush and a slow-burning energy source.
Exactly. And the fiber in quinoa helps regulate blood sugar levels and keeps you feeling full.
Okay, quinoa is officially on my grocery list.
Yeah.
Now, what about nuts and almonds? I'm a big fan of snacking on them, but are they actually beneficial for building muscle?
Nuts are a great addition to a muscle-building diet. They contain a decent amount of protein for their size, and they also provide healthy fats, including omega-3s.
And don't forget vitamin E, right?
That's right. Vitamin E is an antioxidant, and it helps protect cells from damage caused by free radicals, which are byproducts of exercise.
Ah, so it's like a shield for our muscles, protecting them from the wear and tear of intense workouts.
Exactly.
Makes sense. All right, on to the final 2 contenders. This first one probably needs no introduction. Protein powder. I feel like it's a staple for so many people these days, but why is it so effective for building muscle?
Protein powder is popular for a reason. It's convenient, easily digestible, and it provides a concentrated source of high-quality protein, often with all 9 essential amino acids.
So it's like a fast track for getting those muscle-building proteins to where they're needed most.
Exactly. It's especially beneficial after a workout, when your muscles are primed for protein synthesis.
Okay, makes sense. And lastly, we have oatmeal, a classic breakfast food. But is it truly a muscle-building choice?
Oatmeal is a great option. It provides those slow-digesting carbs we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
Means it provides sustained energy for your workouts.
It's like a time-release energy source, keeping those muscles fueled throughout those tough training sessions.
Exactly. And you can customize oatmeal with protein powder, nuts, fruit, all sorts of things to enhance its nutritional profile.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of muscle-building foods. It's amazing how each food brings something unique to the table.
I agree. It's all about understanding how these foods work together to create a synergistic effect.
That makes perfect sense. It's not just about eating a ton of protein. It's about consuming a balanced diet that provides all the right nutrients in the right amounts to support those muscle-building goals.
Exactly. It's all about synergy.
So is there like a magic ratio of these food groups that you recommend?
That's a great question, and something we can definitely dive into deeper.
Awesome.
Let's explore that more in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've covered some amazing muscle-building foods and we've broken down their individual benefits. But how do we put this all together into a balanced diet? Is there a magic formula or a ratio we should be aiming for?
Well, while there's no one-size-fits-all formula, a good starting point is to think about your macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats.
Macronutrients, those are the big players in our diet, right?
Exactly. And each one plays a crucial role in muscle growth and overall health.
Okay, break it down for me.
So protein, as we've discussed, provides those building blocks for muscle repair and growth. Carbohydrates provide the energy for those intense workouts, and fats support hormone production, cell function, and they even help with nutrient absorption.
So it's like a three-legged stool. You need all three in the right balance.
I like that analogy. Now, the ideal ratio will vary depending on individual factors, like your activity level, body composition goals, even your genetics.
Okay, so it's not as simple as just saying, eat this much protein, this many carbs, and this much fat.
Right. But as a general guideline, aiming for a protein intake of around 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight is a good starting point.
So if I weigh 150 pounds, I should be aiming for 120 to 150 grams of protein per day.
That's a good range to start with, and you can always adjust it based on how your body responds.
Got it. So where do carbs and fats fit into this equation?
Carbohydrates are your primary energy source, so you don't want to skimp on them, especially if you're training hard. A good starting point is to aim for 40 to 50% of your daily calories from carbohydrates.
Okay, so if I'm eating, say, 2,000 calories per day, that means I'd be aiming for 800 to 1,000 calories from carbs.
Exactly. And make sure to choose complex carbs like quinoa, brown rice, oatmeal, sweet potatoes, over simple carbs like sugary drinks and processed snacks.
Makes sense. Complex carbs provide that sustained energy release, right?
Yes.
And what about fats? I know they often get a bad rap, but they're important for hormone production, right?
Absolutely. Fats are essential for hormone production, including testosterone, which, as we know, is crucial for muscle growth. They also help with cell function, nutrient absorption, and even satiety, keeping you feeling full and satisfied. Aim for around 20 to 30% of your daily calories from healthy fats.
So sticking with my 2,000 calorie example, that would be around 400 to 600 calories from fats.
That's right. And make sure to choose healthy fats like those found in avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, and fatty fish.
Got it. So it's all about finding that balance between protein, complex carbs, and healthy fats.
Exactly.
To fuel muscle growth and support overall health.
And another important aspect is timing.
Timing? What do you mean by that?
Well, consider when your body needs those nutrients most. For example, after a workout, your muscles are primed for protein synthesis. So that's the perfect time to have a protein-rich snack or meal.
That's why so many people have a protein shake right after they lift weights.
Exactly. It helps replenish those depleted amino acid stores and kickstart the muscle building process.
And what about before workout?
Having a meal or snack that contains both protein and carbohydrates a few hours before your workout can provide sustained energy.
That makes sense. It's all about providing our bodies with the right nutrients at the right times to optimize muscle growth and recovery.
Exactly.
It's like having a well-oiled machine. Everything needs to work in sync.
I like that.
Okay, so we've talked about protein, carbs, fats, and timing. What about those micronutrients I hear so much about? Are they important for muscle building too?
Micronutrients, or vitamins and minerals, play a critical role in overall health, and they can indirectly support muscle growth.
How so?
Well, for example, vitamin D helps with calcium absorption, which is essential for bone health and muscle function.
Makes sense.
And B vitamins, as we talked about earlier, are essential for energy production.
So even though micronutrients don't directly build muscle, they play a crucial supporting role.
Exactly. They're like the unsung heroes working behind the scenes.
I like that. So how do we make sure we're getting enough of those essential micronutrients?
A balanced and varied diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins should provide most of the micronutrients you need.
So those colorful fruits and veggies aren't just for show.
Exactly.
They're packing a micronutrient punch.
And if you're concerned about any potential deficiencies, you can always talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian about whether a multivitamin or specific supplements might be beneficial.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's always a good idea to get personalized advice. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Is there anything else we should keep in mind when it comes to optimizing our diets for building muscle?
One crucial factor we haven't touched on yet is hydration.
Hydration. I know water is essential for life, but how does it specifically relate to building muscle?
Well, water plays a vital role in muscle function, nutrient transport, and recovery. It helps transport nutrients to your muscles, flushes out waste products, and regulates body temperature during exercise.
So if we're dehydrated, our muscles aren't getting the nutrients they need, and waste products are building up.
Exactly. Dehydration can also lead to fatigue, decreased performance, even muscle cramps.
So how much water should we be drinking to support muscle growth?
A good rule of thumb is to aim for half your body weight in ounces of water per day. So if you weigh 150 pounds, that means aiming for 75 ounces.
Okay, that's a good reminder. I know I often underestimate how much water I need.
And don't just rely on thirst as an indicator. By the time you feel thirsty, you're already somewhat dehydrated.
So it's about being proactive and drinking water throughout the day.
Exactly.
All right, so we've got protein, carbs, fats, timing, micronutrients, and hydration all covered. Anything else we're missing?
One last thing I'd emphasize is consistency.
Consistency.
Building muscle is a long-term process. It's not about making drastic changes overnight or following a strict diet for a few weeks.
So it's about building sustainable habits.
Exactly. Focus on making gradual changes to your diet, incorporating those muscle-building foods we discussed, and staying consistent with your nutrition and training.
That's a great message to end on. It's not about quick fixes or fad diets. It's about making gradual, sustainable changes that become part of our lifestyle. This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. I'm feeling inspired and ready to put all this knowledge into action.
I'm glad to hear that. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the process, experiment, and find what works best for you.
Love it. Before we wrap up this part, I'd love to quickly recap some of the key takeaways from our discussion on optimizing our diets for building muscle.
Sounds good to me.
We started by talking about the importance of finding the right balance of macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats. We discussed aiming for a protein intake of around 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, getting 40 to 50% of our calories from complex carbs, and 20 to 30% of our calories from healthy fats.
We also highlighted the importance of timing our meals and snacks, consuming protein after workouts, and carbs and protein before workouts to optimize energy and recovery.
And then we explored the crucial role of micronutrients, those vitamins and minerals that often get overlooked, but are essential for overall health and indirectly support muscle growth.
And of course, we can't forget about hydration, ensuring we're drinking enough water throughout the day to support muscle function, nutrient transport, and recovery.
And finally, we emphasized the importance of consistency, making gradual, sustainable changes to our diets and sticking to them over time.
It's all about building a solid foundation for muscle growth through consistent effort and a balanced approach to nutrition.
All right, now for the main event, the top 10 muscle-building foods themselves. We spent a good chunk of time diving into the science behind each one earlier, but I'd love to recap why they're so beneficial for building muscle.
Let's do it.
Okay, we started with eggs, the perfect muscle food, packed with complete protein, leucine for muscle protein synthesis, and nutrients that support testosterone production.
Then we moved on to chicken breast, the lean protein powerhouse, providing a high protein to calorie ratio and essential B vitamins for energy production.
And then there was this surprising superstar, salmon, delivering high-quality protein and those amazing omega-3 fatty acids for muscle recovery, reduced inflammation, and even enhanced protein synthesis.
Don't forget Greek yogurt, the double protein boost, with both whey and casein protein for around-the-clock muscle support. And of course, lean beef, the classic muscle-building champion, packed with protein, iron, zinc, B vitamins, and even naturally occurring creatine for strength and performance.
Cottage cheese, the nighttime muscle builder, stepped up to the plate with its slow and steady release of casein protein to fuel those muscles while we sleep. And quinoa, the muscle-building carb, blew our minds with its complete protein profile and sustained energy release.
Nuts and almonds, the convenient and tasty snacks, came in strong, with protein, omega-3s, and vitamin E for muscle recovery and protection.
Protein powder, the go-to muscle booster, made its mark with its convenience, digestibility, and concentrated source of high-quality protein, perfect for post-workout recovery.
And finally, we had oatmeal, the energy-sustaining breakfast staple, delivering slow digesting carbs to fuel those intense workouts.
This deep dive has been such a fascinating exploration of the power of food. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how to fuel my body for muscle growth. What a fantastic journey.
I'm thrilled you enjoyed it. And remember, it's all about empowering yourself with knowledge and making choices that support your goals. Now go out there and build those muscles.
Love it. But before we send everyone off on their muscle-building missions, there's one question that's been lingering in my mind. We've talked about all these amazing muscle-building foods, but is there anything we should be cautious about? Are there any potential downsides or things to watch out for?
That's a great question, and it's important to be mindful of a few things. Even though these foods are generally beneficial, there can be some potential downsides if we're not careful.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's dig into that a bit further.
Well, for example, while red meat, like lean beef, is a great source of protein and other nutrients, excessive consumption has been linked to some health concerns.
So moderation is key, even with muscle-building foods.
Exactly. It's all about balance and finding what works best for your individual needs and goals.
That makes sense. Are there any other potential downsides we should be aware of?
Another thing to consider is the potential for food sensitivities or allergies. Some people might experience digestive discomfort or other issues with certain foods, even those considered healthy.
So it's important to pay attention to how our bodies respond to different foods.
Absolutely. It's all about listening to your body and finding what works best for you. And if you have any concerns, it's always a good idea to consult with a healthcare professional or registered dietitian.
That's great advice. It's so important to remember that everyone's body is different, and what works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. And that brings us to another crucial point, the importance of individualization.
Individualization, what do you mean by that?
Well, we've talked about general guidelines and recommendations for building muscle through nutrition, but it's essential to tailor those recommendations to your unique needs and goals.
So it's not about blindly following a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. Factors like your age, activity level, body composition goals, even your training style will influence your nutritional needs.
Okay, so how can we go about individualizing our diets for optimal muscle growth?
A great first step is to keep a food journal or use a tracking app to monitor your current intake and identify areas where you might need to make adjustments.
So tracking what we eat can help us see patterns and make more informed choices.
Exactly. It can also help you identify potential food sensitivities or allergies.
That's a great tip. What else can we do to individualize our diets?
It's also helpful to experiment with different foods and meal timings to see what works best for you.
So it's a trial and error process.
In a way, yes. It's about finding what fuels your body and supports your muscle growth most effectively.
That's empowering advice. It's all about taking ownership of our health.
I couldn't agree more.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. I'm feeling motivated and ready to implement all these tips and strategies.
Fantastic. And remember, building muscle is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the process, stay consistent, and celebrate those gains along the way.
Before we wrap up, let's revisit that question I had earlier about potential downsides or things to watch out for.
Yeah.
We talked about moderation with red meat and being mindful of potential food sensitivities or allergies. Are there any other cautionary tales we should keep in mind?
Another important consideration is the source of your protein.
The source. What do you mean by that?
Well, not all protein sources are created equal. While animal-based proteins like meat, eggs, and dairy are considered complete proteins, meaning they contain all 9 essential amino acids. Some plant-based protein sources might be lacking in certain amino acids.
So if someone is following a vegetarian or vegan diet, they need to be extra mindful.
Exactly. It's important to combine different plant-based protein sources to ensure you're getting a complete amino acid profile. For example, combining beans and rice or lentils and quinoa can provide all the essential amino acids your body needs.
That's a great tip for our plant-based listeners out there. Anything else we should be cautious about when choosing protein sources?
Yes. It's also a good idea to be mindful of processed meats. While they can be a convenient source of protein, they often contain high amounts of sodium, saturated fat, and other additives that might not be beneficial for overall health.
So choosing lean protein sources over processed meats is generally a healthier choice.
Exactly. It's all about making informed choices and prioritizing whole, unprocessed foods whenever possible.
This deep dive has been incredibly informative and eye-opening. I feel like I have a whole new arsenal of knowledge when it comes to building muscle through nutrition. But before we send everyone off to conquer their fitness goals, I have one final question. We've talked extensively about food, but what about the role of supplements? Are they necessary for muscle growth?
That's a great question, and it's one that often sparks a lot of debate.
Okay, I'm ready for the lowdown on supplements. Are they friend or foe? Or maybe somewhere in between?
I'd say somewhere in between. Supplements can be a helpful tool for some people, but they're not a magic bullet or a replacement for a healthy diet and training program.
So they're more like optional add-ons.
Exactly. The name itself, supplement, implies that they're meant to supplement a healthy lifestyle, not replace it.
That makes sense. So what are some supplements that might be beneficial for muscle growth?
One of the most well-researched and effective supplements for muscle growth is creatine.
Creatine. We talked about that earlier when we were discussing beef. It helps replenish ATP, our muscle's primary energy source.
Exactly. Supplementing with creatine can help increase strength, power, and muscle mass.
Okay, so creatine is a contender. Any other supplements that make the cut?
Protein powder can be a convenient way to increase your protein intake, especially if you struggle to meet your needs through food alone.
Right, we touched on that earlier. It's a quick and easy way to get a protein boost.
And some people find that BCAAs, branched-chain amino acids, can help reduce muscle soreness and promote recovery.
So those are the top 3. Creatine, protein powder, and BCAAs. Are there any other supplements worth considering?
Well, there are many other supplements on the market, but the evidence for their effectiveness is often mixed or inconclusive. It's always best to do your research, talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian, and choose supplements that are backed by science and appropriate for your individual needs.
That's great advice. It's so important to be informed consumers.
Exactly. And remember, the foundation of muscle growth is a healthy diet, consistent training, and adequate rest. Supplements can be a helpful addition for some people, but they should never be viewed as a shortcut or a replacement for the hard work and dedication required to build muscle.
This deep dive has been an absolute wealth of information. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of how to fuel my body for muscle growth. But before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your final thoughts. Any parting wisdom you might have for our listeners who are embarking on their own muscle building journeys?
Well, I think the most important message I want to convey is that building muscle is a journey, not a destination. It's a process that requires patience, consistency, and a willingness to experiment and learn.
So it's not about striving for perfection or chasing quick fixes. It's about embracing the process and finding what works best for you.
Exactly. Don't get discouraged if you don't see results overnight. Trust the process, stay consistent, and enjoy the journey.
Those are words to live by. And remember, it's not just about the physical gains. It's about the mental and emotional growth that comes with challenging yourself and pushing your limits.
I love that perspective. Building muscle can be incredibly empowering and transformative, both physically and mentally.
This deep dive has been absolutely fantastic. I feel like I've gained a whole new toolkit for muscle growth. But before we officially wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just one last thought. While we've focused primarily on the science and strategy of building muscle, I think it's important to remember the joy and satisfaction that come from moving our bodies, challenging ourselves, and witnessing the incredible things our bodies are capable of.
That's a beautiful sentiment. It's not just about the end result. It's about embracing the process and finding the joy in the journey.
Exactly.
This deep dive has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights with us.
It's been my pleasure. I always enjoy diving deep into these fascinating topics.
And to our amazing listeners, thank you for joining us on this muscle building adventure. We hope you've gained some valuable knowledge and inspiration to fuel your fitness journeys.
Yeah, that's so important, finding that joy in the journey, especially when it comes to fitness, I feel like sometimes we get so focused on the end goal, like building those biceps or getting that six-pack, that we forget to appreciate the process and how amazing our bodies are.
Absolutely. It's about celebrating those small victories along the way, lifting a little heavier, running a little farther, just feeling a little bit stronger. Those are the moments that make it all worthwhile.
Couldn't agree more. It's about progress, not perfection. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive. We've explored the science behind muscle growth, unpacked the benefits of specific foods, talked about macronutrients, micronutrients, hydrations, supplements, even the importance of individualization and finding joy in the journey. Is there anything else we should keep in mind as we embark on our muscle building adventures?
One thing that often gets overlooked is the importance of sleep. Sleep. I mean, I know it's crucial for overall health, but how does it specifically relate to building muscle?
Well, when we sleep, our bodies release growth hormone, and that plays a key role in muscle repair and growth.
So sleep is like our overnight construction crew, working hard to repair those muscle fibers and build new tissue.
Exactly. And sleep is also when our bodies produce testosterone, another essential hormone for muscle growth.
So if we're not getting enough sleep,
we're
missing out on those crucial muscle-building hormones.
Right. And inadequate sleep can also lead to increased cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone that can actually break down muscle tissue.
Oh, wow. So not only are we missing out on the good stuff, but we're also inviting the bad stuff in.
Pretty much.
So how much sleep should we be aiming for to really optimize muscle growth?
Most adults need around 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night.
Okay, so it's not just about the quantity, but also the quality of sleep.
Exactly. It's important to create a relaxing bedtime routine. Make sure your bedroom is dark, cool, and quiet. And avoid caffeine and alcohol before bed.
Those are all great tips. I know I've definitely felt the difference when I prioritize good sleep.
And don't forget about those rest days too. It's so important to give your body time to recover and rebuild after those intense workouts.
So rest days aren't just for slacking off. They're an essential part of the muscle building process.
Exactly. They allow our muscles to repair and grow stronger. So you're ready for the next training session.
This deep dive has been absolutely incredible. I feel like I've gotten a masterclass in muscle building. from the science to the strategies to the importance of mindset and self-care.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about how your body works and what it needs to thrive, the better equipped you'll be to achieve those goals.
I love that knowledge is power. And you've definitely empowered us today with so much valuable information. I can't wait to put it all into action.
That's what it's all about, taking action and turning that knowledge into results. And remember, the most important ingredient in all of this is you, your commitment and dedication.
So true. Building muscle takes effort, consistency, and a belief in ourselves.
You've got this.
I love it. And to all of our amazing listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the world of muscle building. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling inspired to fuel your bodies and build those muscles. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. So enjoy the process, celebrate those victories, and never stop learning and growing.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time, keep those muscles strong and those minds sharp.